Live, breaking right now. This is News 6, getting results.
Right now, a mass shooting investigation in the heart of downtown Orlando. Police saying 8 people were shot, 2 of them killed, after a 17-year-old opened fire in the busy Bar District. Good morning on your Friday. It is 6 a.m. I'm Crystal Moyer. Bridget has the day off. We'll get to your weather and traffic in just a moment. But first, we want to get straight to our News 6 anchor, Steve Montiero, live from Orlando Police Headquarters. And for those of you just now joining us, Steve, you got an update from the police chief about an hour ago, and police actually showed surveillance footage from that scene.
That's right, Crystal. Look, this is the one thing you and I, even on the desk yesterday, talked that we did not want to happen. And it's the exact same thing that all our law enforcement leaders in Central Florida have been preaching over the past few days. But last night we did have what we are calling a mass shooting, a 17-year-old suspect opening fire on a crowd all over the place there, 2 separate locations, and we do have video from last night, and we can show you that right now. What you're seeing here is those shots being rung out on security footage in that area. There were 2 separate areas of a shooting scene, and people just started running all throughout downtown. Then on body camera video, you see Orlando Police Department officers that were out there working the security detail identify the shooter and take this suspect to the ground. The crowd there last night was absolutely insane, with thousands of people visiting downtown Orlando. I can tell you from experience, I have been to a Halloween celebration years ago, and I can only imagine that it has gotten way, way bigger over the years. Now, Chief Smith did have some words to talk about during a press conference earlier this morning.
Can you speak to the degree your law enforcement officers were acting? That law enforcement officer sees the suspect, identifies them, and immediately takes him to the ground. Kind of talk the mindset of what your law enforcement officers are encountering in downtown Orlando. So, in downtown Orlando, but throughout the whole city, and throughout anywhere with law enforcement officers, they're always trained, they're always ready to act. As soon as they heard the shots fired, you can watch any of these videos. None of the officers, went the other way. They didn't go with the crowd. Most of them, got a little bit of cover between them. They started scanning, seeing what was going on, and then they moved. They took action to keep everybody else safe, and that's what these officers do, and that's their job, and they did it, and I'm very proud of them.
You heard it right there from Orlando Police Chief Eric Smith. He is proud of his law enforcement officers last night, and this community should also be very proud. Yeah, it is a very tragic situation, but these officers were posted at every single corner. There's not a law enforcement officer not seen in any of the video that we were able to obtain at this point from Orlando Police Department. But we have coverage all through Central Florida right now. Our News 6 Angie Casada is over at Orlando Regional Medical Center, where she has been monitoring the in and out flow over there. Angie.
Yes. Right away as soon as we heard that what happened, and as soon as we arrived at the hospital, there were several family members and friends waiting to hear about their loved ones. Now, some of them were teenagers, some were much older, but the hospital was on lockdown and they couldn't hear anything. A lot of mothers expressing just the wait was just terrible, not knowing what was happening with their sons. Now, since then, the hospital is currently on lockdown still, but those family and friends were allowed into the hospital, and we're told that they were put into separate conference rooms to be informed on their loved ones' conditions. We haven't heard back yet, but right now what we know is that there has been a total of 8 victims. 2 have died, and we even spoke to one UCF student who was out celebrating Halloween. He said his friend did not hesitate to step up and protect him.
He tackled me and a girl to the floor and pretty much shielded us, and he ended up being the one that got shot.
If you had to describe your friend, who is he as a person?
The bravest person I've ever met in my life. The single bravest person I've ever met in my life. Hands down, and I'll never meet anybody braver than that in my life.
And Steve, you mentioned it earlier. This has been, growing up in Central Florida. It's one of the best memories coming out to downtown Orlando, to celebrate Halloween with your friends and your loved ones. So the fact that this even took place has been completely tragic. Of course, we'll keep you updated on the victims' conditions and if we get any updates.